This has to be the smallest portrait I've ever painted. Hey guys, welcome to Play Then Paint, where we play a game and then paint an oil painting based around that game. This week we're taking a look at Warhammer 40k Rug Trader. So I've played a few Owlcat games. Kingmaker was okay. Wrath of the Righteous was incredible though, that's where I spent most of my time. I spent like 200 hours in that game. So I'm all for Owlcat CRPGs. They're a solid developer and they're still flying the flag for what is a pretty niche genre. Less niche now thanks to Larian, but it's still, you know, you won't find many people playing CRPGs, especially ones that are really text heavy. Obviously they don't have the voice acting in the Owlcat CRPGs. They have some, but it's not all voice acted, so there's a lot of reading involved. But I've never interacted with the Warhammer 40k universe before, so this was all new to me. True to form though, the character creator in Owlcat games is always the first boss. I spent a solid half an hour making my Rug Trader. I played it for a little bit, didn't like the archetype I chose, restarted it, went with something else, didn't quite click with that either. In the end I went with a Psyker, that's when it clicked a bit better for me. I did the same in Wrath of the Righteous as well. I went with like a Bard I think, and then I was a Sorcerer, and then a Wizard, and then a Warrior. Owlcat do this great thing where you're building a character, and you feel like you're genuinely almost overwhelmed with the options. Options are always a good thing, the more the better. But sometimes you can kind of be like, well, what do I choose? It's a bit overwhelming. But it's good, it's good. I prefer the options being there than them not being there. The whole thing is around role-playing, isn't it? Especially with CRPGs. So when you have more options to make a character that you believe you can fill the role of, it just works a lot better than games where, like role-playing games like Ubisoft's version of a role-playing game, where you're a defined character, which is all well and good. There's brilliant games where you're a defined character, but you never feel like you've had an impact on their upbringing or their life or the choices that they've made to get to the point they are when the game starts. Owlcat lets you choose everything from where you were born, your greatest triumph, your worst moment, and it all works to give you an idea of the character you're playing before you actually start playing the game. So, the Warhammer 40k universe. Fucking mental, innit? Like, I'm a complete noob to 40k, and Owlcat do this great thing where they highlight unfamiliar terms and you can bring up tooltips that give you an explanation of what they mean, which is, you know, was helpful in Wrath of the Righteous, absolutely necessary for me in Rug Trader. I wanted to be immersed in the world, and they do a good job of laying out the relevant stuff in sort of layman's terms. But man, there's a lot of factions and species and paranormal stuff going on. Rug Traders are basically a law unto themselves. They've got almost infinite wealth and power. Life in this universe is just grim, man. Like, it is dark. The grim dark is what they call it, and you can't argue with it. It does what it says on the tin. Workers' rights are non-existent. Life is cheap. And you can be an absolute dick in this game, like psychopathic levels of dickishness. I decided to go Iconoclast for my character, but I think once I've finished the playthrough, I'm going to go down the Psycho route for the next. In fact, I think the aloof, slightly psychotic route probably fits the lore a bit better than the sort of do-gooder that I played. Where Owlcat always shines though is the characters. Just every time without fail. The characters that make up your party, or the ones that I've met so far anyway, are well written. And, you know, Owlcat always hits the ground running with their characters. They did it in Wrath, and each one is distinct and fits into the world perfectly. I mean, I still think of Camellia from Wrath. She is helpful, is she not? I imagine the same will be true of Rug Trader as well. Like, I'll still be thinking of the characters long after the credits roll. Adira is pretty cool. Cassia's awesome. Abelard, though, that guy's a fucking legend. You can make him announce you. Like, when you enter a room, you're like, Abelard, explain to this riffraff who they're talking to. And each and every time, it's fucking brilliant. Like, honest to God, I love it every time. It makes you feel like a proper badass. And it's funny, like, and that humour runs through the whole thing. It's dark humour, admittedly, but it's humour nonetheless. The turn-based combat is solid enough. Sometimes it's easy to get bogged down in the character building though. It's just really maths heavy, and there's a lot of it, you know. Seemed like, especially the beginning of the game, I was levelling up that quickly. And wasn't 100% sure what did what. It doesn't explain it very well. But then again, I just suck at maths, so it might be that. And I understand that these games just aren't for everyone, you know. They're text heavy, there's a lot of reading. Sometimes it can feel like you're reading a novel rather than playing a game. But if you can get past it, Owlcat games gives you role-playing opportunities that are just hard to find in other games. Absolutely love the gothic style there. I went and looked into some famous gothic paintings for inspiration for my painting, And I decided pretty early on that I wanted to do a gothic portrait of a rogue trader. So without further ado, let's get into some painting. Dog. Brush. Okay, we'll work on that. One day I'll train her to actually bring me a brush. So in this painting, I wanted to show you some of the skin tones that I mix. So it's mostly sort of looking for a nutty brown colour, leading more towards orange, and then you can push it lighter or darker, and it works for all skin tones really. In this painting I wanted to get a sense of that noble gothic style that the game does so well, but it was so small. Like I should have chose a bigger canvas, but I have to get these paintings knocked out in a week for this channel, so I tend to use small canvases because I know they're a bit easier to paint. But I swear to God, I had to go and buy a smaller brush just to paint the eye. I added a bunch of augmentations because they're pretty cool. They look cool in the game. They kind of look cool in the painting. More Terminator than Warhammer maybe, but you know, I enjoyed it. But honestly, you want to know how grimdark the grimdark is? Google servitors, and I swear you'll have nightmares. I added a hand mirror because I think vanity plays a huge role in the idea of rogue trader, and I think overall in the story, humanity and its hubris is a huge narrative thread that runs through the universe. It works well in the story, and I think I wanted to catch a bit of that in the painting just with this hand mirror. And that's the finished piece. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed the mashup of pixels and paint, feel free to leave a like or subscribe, and let me know what I should play then paint next in the comments below. Until next time, farewell.